Okay, good afternoon, one and all. Today is the 7th, Monday, the 7th of December, 2019. Just gone quarter, or just coming up to quarter past 12 here in the UK. My name is Ray from Next Forex Trade, and I'm here to talk about Forex. So let's see what's going on in the markets today. I had a quick cycle through just before coming online. There looks to be a few opportunities that could be ready for the taking. So let's start off with just a quick overview of the strategy. This is trend-based strategy, so basically we're looking for either uptrend or a downtrend. So in a downtrend, we'll use that as an example here. We're looking for lower highs and lower lows, and we're looking for the price to be overbought in a downtrend. So I use a standard deviation channel. That's this channel that we're seeing around the price here to give an idea of value for money. And we want it to be in the upper edge of our standard deviation if we're looking to short this in a downtrend. So yeah, so basically the nearer it is to the upper edge of our standard deviation, the better, and that gives us more value for money. So once we've established that in the daily chart, that we've got a trend in place and the timing is opportune as well, then we look to the lower time frames and we look for what's called time frame agreement. So we want these lower time frames here, 4 hourly, 15, 5, etc., to be saying a similar thing to the daily time frame, so showing lower lows, lower highs as well. And if they're all agreeing, then we can consider a trade. So that's a basic overview. Make more sense as we go through the different examples today. But yeah, let's kick off. Let's have a look firstly at the AUDUSD. So firstly, we can see this is in a downtrend. We've got these lower highs, lower lows in place. Standard deviation it's nearing an upper edge of our standard deviation. The price in Friday's market gave this reversal type candle here that interacted with some resistance area as quite zonal resistance based on a daily. So this gives us some indication that this in fact could be a lower high that this Friday's candle's produced, and it gives a reference point for our stop loss potentially above these levels here, so above the high of Friday's candle. What we also need to see though is signs of bearishness on the lower time frames as well. So if we look at the 4 hourly, let's just have a look here. I wouldn't say this is ready just yet. It's kind of getting there, in that if we're looking at the hourly, for example, it started to break price structure. So by that I mean previously in an uptrend we anticipate seeing higher highs and higher lows. Here the previous higher low here has been taken out in this previous move down here. So that's a good sign that this bearishness could potentially continue, and we see context through the standard deviation going from high to low. But I would just want to see it give some more convincing signs of that. So at the moment, really seeing some sort of a pullback to this upper edge of our standard deviation and seeing a reversal candle for it to move past the low of that and move lower, or in fact even just breaking this support more, this area here, this previous low, breaking this and then pulling back would be even better. So this looks good based on the daily, but I just want to see a bit more convincing signs on the lower time frames first of all before trying to short this. So let's have a look at the next one here. So here we've got AUDCHF. So let's just have a look at this. It's a bit of limbo at the moment. I'll be bearish on this overall. Definitely some nice signs of bearishness on the daily. Lower highs, lower highs, lower lows. Standard deviation channel here. The price is it's interacted with this. It's near the highs of that. We can see as well we've got reference point, much like the last one we looked at, where there's previous highs here that has also interacted with previous support. So it gives a reference point for a stop loss potentially above these levels. The 4 hourly as well, beautiful bearishness as well. It's this move here that we're seeing on a daily, is this here on the 4 hourly. So that's good. I did say it was in a bit of limbo because of what we're seeing in this price action here, in that the price in this retrace based on in the context of the higher time frame, although this is bearish here, this looks like it could be a retrace. In fact, I mean, it hit its high there. But this bullishness here could continue, so I would just be wary of that before considering the short on this, because potentially this could act as support and the price move higher to break these previous highs here. You can see as well these previous highs that we saw in the price here, it could have some trouble moving much lower than that in today and tomorrow's market. But having said that, there's decent scope in this to potentially short, but really it's just be waiting, going through the market, just seeing if there's anything better to trade on this. But yeah, if I were to trade this, the short would be stop loss above here, and that would give a 1-to-1 take profit, you know, around these types of levels here, around these previous lows, which is good because this is our previous low in this move. So there is scope for the potential, there is scope for the price to potentially move to these types of lows. But wait and see, really. I'm going to see if there's anything better in the market really before trying to eke a trade out of that. But it is tradable. Just going to see if there's any other better opportunities. So AUDJPY, yeah, I'm going to pass on this one. It's bearish overall. It's definitely kind of got an extension move here. 4 hourly is looking good, but I don't like where I'd need to put a stop loss here. I mean, you could go for a stop above this level here, but it's still within our standard deviation, which for me isn't great. The most ideal technical level for a stop is above this one here, this by previous lower high here, but that would just be too far away from where our entry is to be. It would push our stop loss, sorry, our take profit. With a stop loss above here, it will push our take profits beyond these lows here on a 1-to-1 reward to risk, which isn't great. So I'd wait for this to pull back a bit more before considering shorts on it. So pass on that one. No, pass on this. Bearish overall, hit support here. It needs to pull back a bit more. Although the 4 hourly's got some good time. Let's just have a look at this. This has some context. Yeah, this is why it's always worth just, you know, taking the bigger picture into consideration, because although in the context of the bigger move on this, so we could look at this or even this, right? The timing of the price isn't so great, but using the most recent extension, there is tradability in this. So this move here is the same as this 4 hourly here, and we can see that in previous days it's hit its standard deviation, it's pulled away from that. So let's say if this is tradable, what would I need to see in this? Yeah, this is good. So in this, basically the 4 hourly and the daily is the same. The hourly is a bit tricky at the moment. The 15 and 5 are pretty good because they've started to roll over. You can see previously the price structure was higher lows and higher highs, but it's broken that recently with lower highs and lower lows. So we can now give context to this standard deviation going from high to low. But the kind of thing that sticks out at the moment is still the hourly for me. It's still very bullish. It's given it's kind of broken out of our standard deviation previously, previous hours if you like, but it hasn't convincingly broke out of it. It's kind of finding support at it, so potentially could pull back. I would say given the strength of the bearishness on the higher time frames, I would use the 15-minute in this instance and look for some resistance off of our upper standard deviation channel. So the only thing on this isn't right is the hourly, and I mean, yeah, okay, let's stick with that. The hourly isn't great, so I wait for a potential reversal candle off of our upper standard deviation channel on the hourly, and the price to move past the low of that, and then that would warrant an entry with a stop loss above the daily high, so above this level here, or if you're looking at these time frames here, yeah, no, sorry, here, What am I talking about? This level. So it's this previous lower high here, which is good because it's outside of our standard deviation, and it will take our one-to-one take profit roughly to about these levels, which is here. So as long as it's before these previous lows, that stacks for me. But it's just waiting for a bit more confirmation on the hourly, I would say. So what's the now? 12:30. So probably have a look at this again around coming on 2 o'clock, just to see how this has progressed, see if we get the price action it need. But yeah, AUDUSD potential in that. CAD CHF, nope, bearish on this, but no, price is just too near the average, needs to pull back. No, CHF JPY hitting too much support here, needs to pull back to give more context to that downtrend, so no. Yeah, this, I mean, too late on this now, but had I seen this earlier today, this would have been a viable entry. You can see clearly on the daily, higher highs, higher lows. The time to get in on this would have been near the open, to be honest. When you'd seen this reversal candle based on Friday, I mean, it gapped up. We would have had to wait for the swaps, for the spreads to settle down before potentially entering it. But as the price moves past the high of that candle, that would have been a viable entry with a stop loss below these types of levels, so below the lows on the daily. The only problem with this is carrying this from day to day is going to be quite expensive, as I would have mentioned in previous videos, and this is probably going to take a while to hit its one-to-one reward to risk. So there is a viable long position in this. Certainly if this were to come back and find some value, yes, you could consider going long on this, but the problem is it's going to be likely a swing trade lasting several days, and a swap on this going long can be quite hefty on this pair. So yeah, there's opportunities to be long in this, but just be aware of it's probably going to cost you and take profits. So if you were to get a bit more value on this, you'd get your one-to-one before this previous high at least. And I wouldn't really in this instance look to go beyond for it to break new highs, but yeah, there's one-to-one in this, but I would personally want to see a bit more value of it come back a bit more before potentially going long on that. It's okay, it's an okay position. I think there's better stuff out there though. So this here is the EURCAD. Yeah, this looks good. Bearishness on the daily, lower highs, lower lows. We've got a reference point for our stop loss above the previous lower high, which has also interacted with previous resistance here, zonal support here. So good stop loss above here. Looks good on the 4-hourly as well. So stop above this level is the same as this one here. What's missing from this is the bearishness that we need to see in the lower time frames. So our hourlies are still quite, hourly and other time frames are either quite flat or quite bullish. So I'd want to see it break some previous support levels and then pull back. So for me, this area of support here, price would need to break lower than this and then pull back, and we'd be able to put a standard deviation from high to low to allow for to help time with the entry. So this is looking good, has potential, but just needs to mature a bit on the lower time frames to break support and move lower to warrant an entry on that. Euro CHF. Let's just have a look at this. So yeah, this is okay. I mean, we've got bearishness in place on the higher time frame. There's scope in terms of where our take profit would be. So if we're looking for a stop loss above this here, which we're deeming as the lower high, there's also interaction with our standard deviation, previous support, previous resistance. So stop above that level makes sense. We started to see some signs of bearishness on the 4-hourly. So this is kind of broken price structure where previously we're seeing these higher lows here in this context to the upside. Oh, come on. Okay, it's not going to move for me. So basically these lows here were getting higher, these highs were getting higher, and it started to break and make lower highs and lower lows. It's the beginnings of that anyway. That's good. That's more prominent on the hourly, where you can see that, you know, it's broken. This area of support here was the kind of vital area that's broken through and started to pull back. So yeah, I would consider shorting this. Again, it's a case of waiting for the hourly to dictate this. What I'd want to see is some interaction with the upper standard deviation channel, a reversal candle off of that, and the price to move past the low. So this is another one that has some decent potential, but and it won't be long. I mean, if this were to happen, it would be in the next couple of hours or so. But yeah, we'll just wait to see how that happens before potentially shorting this. But yeah, I can see some decent potential to short this potentially today, but it's just waiting for better value. We got the Euro GBP, finding it very hard to get past this resistance here, clear bearishness here. But the problem for me with this is what all these lower time frames are saying. This move here is still exceedingly bullish, so I would not want to be on this just yet. I would want to see it break support and start to make lower lows and lower highs on these lower time frames firstly. So pass on that. No, wouldn't get on this. Definitely bearish overall because of this move, but you'd be selling into support here. There's too much support the price needs to get past. You can see 1, 2, third day's kind of finding support here, previous levels. Wait for it to pull back to find some value and show reversals before shorting this. So I'll pass on that. Euro NZD, no, not great value for money where it is at the moment. This needs to pull back some more. Bullish overall, but needs to pull back to see some value. So pass on that. Euro USD, mediocre. I mean, this is good bearishness. You can see it's in our upper half of our standard deviation, but I would much prefer to see this lower high that we're seeing here interacting with or nearer to at least the upper edge of our standard deviation than where it is now. There is some kind of soft support and resistance we can probably trace back as well. Some resistance here, some support here, but I'd want this to push a bit higher and then show signs of reversal, just giving for a more sensible stop loss that would be likely outside of our standard deviation. Shorting here, we'd need our stop to be within the standard deviation, which isn't as good. It's higher risk. You could also, I mean, one way you could approach this is look to short this, but with a lower risk profile. So if you do 1%, typically, then 0.5%. But yeah, and as well, just looking at these lower time frames, not great. Very bullish at the moment, flat. So I'd pass on that for now. Just wait for better signs. Overall, this is an excellent in terms of bullishness, where the standard deviation is as well. The price on Friday kind of interacted near enough with the lower edge, but the problem with this is just the size of the candles. The stop loss would just need to be way too wide on this to have the entry. So this is the technical level that we're looking for, a stop loss below this level, because it was the previous higher low, and it would also mean it's outside of the standard deviation roughly. But it just makes the reward to risk not that good, because it would mean stop loss below here, 177. You'd be taking yeah, I mean, the profits would be taken before the previous high, so before this level here, but the stars just aren't aligned on it. I mean, this 4-hourly is basically the same as a daily, and there's just not as clear signs as bullishness on the lower time frames as well. So the hourly is a bit choppy. It's just not as readable as some of the other charts. So I would pass on this. But yeah, bullish overall, but it's just not as good as some of the other stuff. Probably pass on this as well, because Yeah, we've got bearishness from this context here, high to low, lower highs, lower lows, but this is the part that is kind of in limbo, so this has a lot of context as well, this bullish move, which is a retrace in the sense of this move, but you know, it's got legs of its own to potentially move higher. So I wouldn't want to short this because, you know, there's this kind of bullish intent in there. So I wouldn't want to sell into that, but also I wouldn't want to buy into this just yet as well, because you can see that even on these highs here, they're interacting with the upper edge of our standard deviation. So it's a bit of limbo. So I would pass on that for that reason. GBP Swissy. So GBP Swissy, what we're going to do is, so this is bullish overall. I'd want to see this candle close first of all before making a decision on this. I think this was one I was in last week. Yeah, so I took profit on this last week. So this has continued with its signs of bullishness, but what I want to see is today's candle close and find support off of this level here, and then potentially get in again as the price moves past the high of it. It's just too aggressive now whilst this is still being formed, because what I want to do if I'm going long, I basically want that's funny. So I want the candles to be showing one after the other, showing higher highs and higher highs, if that makes sense. So the price after showing a reversal candle should move past the high of that reversal candle. At the moment, these candles have shown progressively given lower lows on each of them. So this candle here, the next one that followed it, it's low, it moved past the low of it. Today's candle has moved past the low of the previous day's candle. So I don't want to be going long on that, because it can be like catching a falling knife. The price is still showing signs of it moving lower. I want it to show a sign of a reversal, so shown a lower candle, move past the previous low, but then move past the high of it in the next candle. So I need for this one to close first of all before I can make that decision. So if today's candle ends up looking something like it looks now, then I would consider getting back long on this as the price moves higher, and we'd have a nice tight stop loss underneath these levels. And you know, depending on the size of what this candle is, it makes 1-to-1s, 2-to-1s quite easy, possibly even 3-to-1s out of this. So gonna wait on that one. Nope, don't want to be on this one. GBP JPY overall, I mean, relatively bullish, but you can see this is kind of one of the reasons why I say waiting for the reversal candle and for it to move past the high, because you can see that this was a very bottomy type candle that we saw that had in fact come on the standard deviation, the lower edge of the standard deviation, and you know, the kind of trigger for the entry is waiting for it to move past the high. So using that as a kind of safety feature, you wouldn't have been entered on this trade, because the price in fact hasn't moved past the high of this candle, it's moved past the low and it's continued lower, so it wouldn't have been entered on this. So that's one of the good things about waiting for signals to kind of prove themselves, waiting for a price to, you know, show its cards before you try and jump on the back of it. So I wouldn't be bullish on it. I'm bullish on this overall, but the timing would be wrong for me to take a position on this. It needs to show clearer signs of its bullishness going forward. This daily on the GBP NZD, bullish overall. Yeah, they're good. I mean, there are good signs on this. Just have a look at this. So it's that resistance. This is a tricky one. I mean, not super tricky. I mean, basically, the structure of this is stop loss below these levels here. Now, why I'm hesitating on this is I'm trying to read what the 4-hourly and the hourly are saying, because there's slight cause concern in this move that we're seeing on the daily, this here, or this on the 4-hourly, whereby it's finding kind of resistance within a high to low standard deviation. So this could potentially reverse off of this level and move lower. But we're looking for bullishness in this. And what was good about the hourly is it had broken a quite significant area of support quite recently, or at least pierced it, moved slightly higher. But it just needs to be a bit more convincing, and it's not at the moment. So there are a few things just to be wary on at this. So yeah, when there's this type of indecision, if it's not clear, don't take the trade. Right? You can see how much I'm hesitating in this, and I'm not trying to, eke a trade out something that's there. I'm trying to evaluate what could go wrong, essentially. Where could I be wrong in this? And if the areas where I can be wrong are just, not worth it, then why take the trade? Just look for clearer stuff. Just preserve your money for the clearer trade. So in this, yeah, I definitely want to see better signs of this structure being broken on the 4 hourly, and that also to be better signs of bullishness on the hourly as well. So likely have to break through this resistance, pull back. Yeah, I don't think this is going to be one for today. So I won't labour the point on this anymore. I'm going to come back to this tomorrow and see how that progresses tomorrow. GBP USD. Yeah, it's finding loads of support here off of our standard deviation and previous levels as well. Come on. So we can deem this as a significant level of support, right? Because we've got our standard deviation, it's interacted off of that horizontal here, so stops below that level makes sense. But it's timing the entry. Have we got enough signs of bullishness on the lower time frames to allow for an entry? This is a worry. So this retrace here that we're seeing, similar to the last one, where this is, you got the signs of bearishness, but we want to be long on this, so we want to see convincing signs of bullishness. This has started to happen in terms of this move here, but it's still a bit of limbo. So we've got context both to that, from low to high, as well as high to low. So I'd want to see it break out of this, probably this previous high here. So break higher, price move higher, and then pull back, giving more context to this low to high standard deviation. So yeah, again, sorry if it's not again, not every day is a trading day. Sometimes it's just preparing and seeing what could happen and preparing for that, rather than jumping on the back of everything and anything. This looks awesome because of what we're seeing here on the daily. Lower lows, lower highs within our standard deviation. Nice reversal candle off of our upper standard deviation channel. Also, this kind of reversal candle that we saw was also some kind of support that we would have seen in these lower prices, other prices back here. May go back as well. Not really, but there's reference point for a stop above this level. So it's looking for the bearishness in these lower time frames. Okay, so I would be looking at the hourly on this one. The hourly and the 15-minute are good enough on this to consider a short. And really, it's just a case of waiting for a bit more of a pullback, I would say. So yeah, I'd be willing to short this if this in the following hours comes back and finds resistance off of our standard deviation or these types of levels. So reversal candle for that and the price move lower, and it would be a stop loss above there on the daily. 1-to-1 reward to risk, that really does stack quite nicely, because you can see with a stop above there, it's about 60 pips. 1-to-1 is around these levels. There's 2-to-1 and beyond in this. So this is one I'll be keeping my eye on. No, this is NZDJPY coming to support. Stop loss would need to be way too high up there. Pass. This is another good one. NZDUSD, same thing. I can't remember the last one I talked about, but the same kind of thing. Got lower high here, It's hit resistance with this reversal candle, which we're deeming as the lower high. Hit resistance, some areas of support here. So it's hit our standard deviation, or more or less come into interaction with that. 4 hourly is a bit of a slight worry because of this retrace here, but the hourly is looking good in terms of breaking that potential price structure. Let me just capture that same move that we've got on the 4 hourly. So it's breaking out of our standard deviation slightly. It's pierced it. What would be good here? It would be worth a risk, in my opinion. Seeing it come back, same thing as that last one, come back, find some resistance off of our standard deviation, reversal candle, stop above this level, 1-to-1 stacks. You got 1-to-1, 2-to-1 out this easily if the price should move as intended. But I would just want to see a bit more value for money in this first of all, and that should mitigate the risk of this 4 hourly not being perfect, if you like, in the sense of it being with our standard deviation. So something like 1%, I'd be happy to put in on that. And if it goes in favor, i.e. breaking these previous lows, adding to that as well if that happens. So this is definitely something that I'll be looking out for today. Just want to see that better value for money, so pull back. So yeah, USD CAD, nope, very choppy at the moment. Let's just zoom out just in case I'm missing something. No, it's just not clear cut enough. This is USD Swissy. No, I mean bullish overall, but I'd want to see it come to these types of levels, and a nice small reversal candle as well. You can see the range on these candles are quite wide, quite long in their movement. But what I'd want to see for this to have potential is a small reversal candle come off support here, which would be good because of these previous areas here where we've seen support, zonal kind of support, resistance. It's also our standard deviation channel as well, but that's conjecture really. Until that happens, we'll need to wait and see how that materializes. And the earliest really that could be to see a small candle. We'd need this to form, we'd need another reversal candle to form, which would be Tuesday. So viably the earliest you could get in on this is Wednesday. So not for today. USD JPY. This is better in that this now has a bit more context to the downside. So to be bearish on this, because this, what I was worried about last week was this too much context to this kind of pullback here, this retrace. That's been broken in recent days because, let's use this one here. You can see this was previous support here, resistance, previous support, and it's broken through that, and it's also broken through our standard deviation from the low to high. So our 4 hourly is now starting to become more bearish. So there's more context to this move here. But to make this a trade, what I'd want to see, what do we need on this? Is this tradable? I'd say this is tradable now. If I were to, I think there's been better setups that I've seen since we cycled through today. But if I were to trade this, and it was the only one available, I would be willing to risk 0.5%. On my typical risk profile. So my trading risk is typically 0.5% to 3% in terms of how much I would put into one single currency pair. So at the moment, I mean, the 4 hourly and the hourly on these are looking actually quite good. There could be a bit more value in the 4 hourly, but I'm just hesitant because of what our daily saying. I would want it to be nearer to this upper edge of our standard deviation to give a bit more context there. So it is slightly risky, but the upside on this is actually quite good in terms of having a stop loss above these levels here. So the previous lower high, it would mean, 1-to-ones, still not great. I mean, it's around these levels. Yeah, I mean, yeah, 0.5%. If I were like a punter type trader, then yeah, 0.5% would be the upper side of this. But there's more value waiting on the hourly at least to pull back slightly first before considering this a short, because it would mean you'd have a much bigger position with a stop loss still above these lower highs here, and the profit potential to the downside would be much greater as well, and there'd be much clearer idea of how you could scale into this, so add to the position. If the price was up here, then I'd be thinking, yeah, definitely, more nearer to 1%, and as it moves lower, add to that position. Here it's just not great timing. So yeah, if you're a bit of a punter, go for 0.5%. It's your money. But yeah, I wouldn't be on the back of that right now. But yeah, hopefully you've got some good ideas from that. I will update you tomorrow. If you found this useful, give me a thumbs up. Really do appreciate those. If you've got any questions, feel free to ask them as well below, and I will get back to you on those. And yeah, I will see you tomorrow in tomorrow's live stream for Tuesday. Okay, we'll see you later. Bye.